We're going to continue working on ellipses. We're not going to graph ellipses. We are going to find the major part of ellipses and manipulate different things, answer different questions. Being given some information about the ellipse, we're going to find other information about it. So here it says find the vertices for the major and minor axes and the foci using the following equation of an ellipse. So it's not in standard form. That's step number 1. So we know it needs to be set equal to 0. We're going to divide through by 36. So here it is in standard form. And, well, there it is in standard form. We can see that H is 0, K is 0, A is 3, and B is 4. So we get a lot of information from that standard form from the equation of the ellipse. So the major axis is going to be along the x-axis because A is larger than B. The vertices of the major axis, we start at 0. We're going in either direction, left or right, a distance of 3. So we know that the vertices on the major axis are -3, 0 and +3, 0. The vertices for the minor axis, since B is 2, we're going to go up and down. We're going to go up the y-axis from 0, a distance of 2, and down a distance of 2. So those vertices are 0, 2, and 0, -2. The foci are going to be along the major axis, so that's going to be a change in our x-coordinate. The foci involves C, remember, and since A is larger than B, we're going to use C squared equals A squared minus B squared. C squared, therefore, is going to be 5, so C is going to be plus or minus √5. So we're going to go to the right √5 from 0 and to the left √5 from 0. So there are our points that are our foci for this particular ellipse. If we wanted to graph it, it would be fairly easy to do. There's all the information that we have gained. The major axis, the minor axis, the center, the foci, all those kinds of things. This says find the equation of an ellipse given a vertex. So we don't know the center, but we do know one of the vertices and a focus. And then it says to graph the ellipse. So we start from what we know about the vertex. The vertex lies along either the major or the minor axis. One of them is 0, 12. So the other one is going to have to be 0, -12. That tells us that the x-coordinate of our center is 0. And our axis goes up 12 and down 12. The vertices of the minor axis we're going to actually find from the value of A, and so we know we went a distance of A up and a distance of A down, so A squared is 144. They give us the coordinate of a focus, which is -2 square roots of 11. And so we're going to square that. That's going to give us C squared. And that's how we're going to actually find the value of B. B is along the minor axis, and we know that we'll go a distance to the left or to the right. So B squared has to be A squared minus C squared. So B squared is 100. B is therefore plus or minus 10. So the vertices of the minor axis are -10, 0 and 10, 0. So the equation in general form, we are centered at 0. So we know that it's just x squared and y squared on top. We know that A squared is 144. And that's the major axis, and therefore that's a vertical axis, and that B squared is 100, and that's our minor axis. So we could graph that very quickly, no problem. All right, find the center, the vertices of the major and minor axes, and the foci using the following equation of an ellipse. So the very first thing we have to do is put it in standard form. So we're going to gather our x terms, gather our y terms. Remember that we are going to factor out those common factors. So we're going to factor 16 out of our x squared in our x term and 4 out of our y squared in our y term. When we actually complete the square on these two, we have to be very careful about what we're adding to both sides. So we're going to take half of 6 and square it and add that. and then we're going to take half of -2 and square it and add that. But we need to make sure that we understand we are adding 16 times 9 and 4 times 1. So we need to make sure that we're adding the right things to both sides. So now we have x plus 3 and y minus 4, and then we're going to divide through by 64. And so here is the standard equation for this ellipse. And we have a center point of -3, 1. We know that our major axis is vertical because this value is larger than this value. B is 4, A is 2, therefore we can find C and answer all of those questions. So again, the center is 3, -1. The major axis is vertical. The vertices, we're going to go a distance of A, so that's -3, and it will be 1 minus 4 and then 1 plus 4. So there are the points that are the vertices for this ellipse along the major axis. The minor axis, we're going to go a distance of B, so B is plus or minus 2. So we're going to add that to our x-coordinate, -3 minus 2, and -3 plus 2. So the vertices along the minor axis are -5, 1, and -1, 1. The foci involve C, so we're going to have to use a squared and b squared to find C. And so c squared is a squared minus b squared, which is 16 minus 4. And so c squared is 12, c is plus or minus 2√3, and we're going to add that along the major axis, which is the vertical axis. And we generally don't use our calculator to get decimal approximations. I would much prefer that you gave your answer in this form, in the exact form. So there we are. There's some examples of give me some parts of the ellipse and I can find other parts of the ellipse. Come to class next time and we'll work on some homework problems.